So I'm Jyotir. I've been with Oracle for almost 20 years now. My journey started with Sun Microsystems and then with MySQL database and now into the cloud infrastructure. Um, so again, like AI, cloud was never there when I started my career, right? So it was just a technology which boomed. And, over the years, we just have to adapt to the upcoming technologies and see how we can show our potential, right? And that's why I'm here still. So it's the same thing that applies to you also. Since AI is a new technology that's coming up, you just have to show your potential there and shine up in the market. So, so before starting with generative AI in detail, I would just want to tell you about the forms of AI that are existing today. Okay, so a perception AI is the first of its kind, where image and speech recognition was started, right? So we were able to, have chips and semiconductor devices, and it'll, have some programming in the background which will recognize the words that you speak or the images that you display and things like that. And then came generative AI, where it'll start generating content for you than just recognizing what you talk or show. And then agentic AI is the next advancement, which Shrikant also mentioned, right? So where it's all automated customer service and workflow automation and things like that, where it's not just generating the content, it'll perceive the environment, right? You would have seen chatbots and things like that, which will respond based on the query that you put up on the chat box, right? And physical AI is the most advanced form that we have today. Enables robots and autonomous machines. So you would have seen the Tesla vehicle, right? Autonomous machine, self-driving vehicles. So we are beyond the stage of co-piloting, right? So there is full self-driven vehicles, FSD vehicles coming into picture now with autopilot mechanism, right? So that's the latest technology in physical AI. So the examples for this, it would include, service robots, companion robots, industrial robots, and the humanoid is the latest form of it. Right. So industrial robots are nothing but, you would have heard in Amazon warehouse, you have a lot of robots doing the task for you, right? Arranging the materials and then picking it up based on the order and then shipping it, packing it, and shipping it to delivery and things like that, right? So those are industrial and service robots, and humanoid robots is the fullest form of it, which could, behave like a human, right? So we'll see more about that. So generative AI definition is that what we have been hearing about for so long. So it's not just learning from existing artifacts, but it's going to generate new and realistic artifacts with a lot of parameters into consideration, right? So it could generate new images. You would have seen Gemini ad everywhere, right? So where it generates images of a dog based on your request, right? So that's a very good example for Gen AI. And then it could generate videos based on what you ask, music, speech, text, even software code, right? And now it can do product designs also. So you just tell your requirement and it's going to come up with designs. The beauty of it is, the first time you ask, it gives you a design. The second time you ask, it gives you another design, which opens up your thinking process, right? So you look at multiple designs and see which one is best suited for you. So generative AI is that, right? So next is, why is it required? So like nowadays, all of us, many of you would have heard from your friends and relatives and siblings that with AI, jobs are not going to go away, right? But which is not true. I mean, the repetitive tasks are definitely going to be taken over by AI, because they are always available and they can do it in no time, right, compared to the human intervention. But not everything, right? Not all the jobs will go away, because people are still needed to provide input to the AI tools and technologies, right? So only the repetitive tasks, which are mundane and everyday things, like BPO, where you have to constantly answer the same kind of questions, all those will go away. But that is not, equivalent to loss of jobs. And why is GenAI required? Again, it's enhancing creativity and innovation. It's opening up your thought process. It's helping you to think more, solves the problems better, right? And increased efficiency across industries, productivity. The job that you can do in 4 hours, if Gen AI can, with the technology, if we can do it in 10 minutes, you can, use your time better for better productivity. That's the whole idea, right? Even in, agricultural fields, when you have machines or robots doing the work for you, like mowing or plowing and things like that, it reduces the human effort required there. So you can have the land for, faster for better usage and things like that. So that is all it means. And yeah, again, why do you have to worry about learning so many programming languages and, coding and all that? English is the hottest programming language with Gen AI in place now, right? Because you don't have to worry about, learning SQL or, the syntax and semantics, worry about the semicolon, the comma. Nothing is required. So you can just have a, natural language. NL stands for natural language, right? And GenAI is very much into natural language processing and generation, right? So when you, instead of saying select star, if you want the number of graduates or the number of students who have secured 100 marks in, computer science, for example. So instead of saying select star from computer science department who has scored 100, you can just ask the technology and tool, give me the number of people who has secured 100 marks, right? And it's just going to give you the same kind of output in a better formatted output than just a query output in form of a table, which is easier for you to understand, right? Even code, so you can just tell, write me a snippet of code to do so and so, right? And that natural language is going to be converted into the snippet of code in the required language, which will help you, not worry about the syntax and semantics of programming, but rather focus on the design and the solutions and the problem solving techniques, right? Even for searching and text and image, you can use natural language and you're going to get the desired output. So what is the history of Gen AI? So it started off with 1960s, right, where it was just a chatterbot. It started with a chatterbot. It was trying to understand what you speak and trying to respond, right? And then the graphics processing unit came into picture in 1999, where the images were processed, right? And then it comes the Google's autocomplete. Everyone would have used it, right, till today. So in Google, if you type something, it just tries to, pull up the relevant words for your search, right? And sometimes you yourself will wonder how these words are coming up, right? So that is that autocomplete technology. And then we had variable autoencoders, variational autoencoders, and then the generative adversarial networks is where the complete neural networks came into picture, where, the generative, as in it's going to generate the content, right? So there are two kind of neural networks, one called the generator and one called the discriminator, right, where the systems itself challenge the content that they have created, right? So generator will, based on your input, if you ask for something, generator will generate some content, and the discriminator will try to challenge the generator, saying, no, this is not right, right? So that the generator comes up with much optimal content based on the data sets it have, right? And then this is all processed in, inside the neural networks inbuilt with millions of data sets. And then you get a, much efficient output when the generator wins the discriminator, right? So that is called the GANs. So this was up in 2014, and then 17 we started having the transformer and diffusion models in place, where the transformer models will have an encoder and a decoder, right? And then the vectorization came into picture as part of transformer. And then the data that is processed will be stored as, tokens and embeddings, right? So vectorization will happen, tokens will be generated, and then embeddings will be generated. So embeddings are nothing but the mappings and the related words grouped together, so that when you say something, you get a response from the theory of relativity, right? So from that embeddings, you get some output. So that is the whole basic idea of chat gpt, where so you all know chat gpt, but gpt stands for generative pre-trained transformer, which is basically working on the background of large language models, LLMs, right? So generative pre-trained, as the name says, it is a pre-trained transformer model, right, across multiple data sets. And 2022, it's ChatGPT and Amazon's Proteus came into picture. And after 23, you could see the rapid advancements happening like almost every year. And here the timeline is every year, right? But every 3 to 6 months, there is some advancement happening in this humanoid robot space, right? Um, so now we are more than agentic AI, we are into the physical AI space, right? So the next is, so being from the technical background and being computer science and electronics background, I would say you would want to understand the anatomy of a generative AI tool, how it looks in the background, right? So as a user, you have your web page or a chat or a mobile app or any kind of input source, right? So from there you pass the data. It could be in any form, right? Text, voice, video, or some images, and then it goes to the chatbot or the tool, right? And here what happens is it listens to you, which is a natural language processing, and then it has its knowledge and the machine learning capability, right? So it listens to you based on that, and with its knowledge and the large language model integration, it uses a generative AI technology as the business logic, right? And then it generates the natural language output, right? Which is the NLG here, right? So you could see what is happening inside whenever you just show a simple ask to the AI tool, right? So there are a lot of, so inside the business logic, so how is the data retrieved? So the data is stored in cloud, right? So that it's accessible, and there are a lot of APIs and databases involved inside the cloud where your data is stored in store of in form of object storage and all that, right? And a lot of hardware devices to make all this work together, right? So this is the whole anatomy, but as a user, it's completely invisible to you what is happening in the background. You just see ask a query and you get a response. It's all you know, right? So you could imagine the amount of speed and accuracy that is working in the background to give you that much of output in no time, right? So you could see the benefits here: high efficiency, asynchronous operation, because you don't know what is happening, by then you get the output, right? Lower interaction cost, because you don't have to do extra effort in typing anything. You just talk like talking to a human and you get the output. Reduce barriers to usage, highly scalable, highly precise based on the trained models that are there, and high value activities, right? So this anatomy will help you understand how different technologies are coming together to make this work, right? So it is generative AI is evolving, but all the underlying services are already there, right? So all those have to collaborate and work together to give you this efficient output. So the next slide is to touch upon large language models. So these are again AI models trained on massive data sets, like hundreds and billions and billions of data sets. Whatever you're going to try with Vishwam AI is all there in the data sets, right, in some form or the other. So I read an article where they had used around 150 to 200 books to gather data from that, right? So the books were converted into soft copy, and data was read from that, and then fed gave us input to this data set to process such kind of information. So deep learning techniques where the data is, processed and kept in form of embeddings so that you get efficient output. So there are billions of parameters which are, have to be considered based on the data that you ask for. And yeah, this is a basic one, right? Learn to predict the next word in a sentence based on the context. So this is all based on the embeddings that we have based on the pre-trained